Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Cool People Real Talk. Today we have a team of young men, all originally from Battle Creek, Michigan. All are alumni of Cool People Community Savers who have decided to come back to our city since the dire announcement of us making the top 25 in the worst place in America out of 19,543 cities to raise a kid. And they're coming back all with their own unique talents and visions, which we are going to encompass together. But what I want to state to you today is that today we sit here declaring a grassroots war on our young people not being able to achieve their dreams, on dysfunctional families, on substance abuse that are allowed in our streets, on justice systems that not on a level playing field. And when it comes to fixing the problem of being in a place of destitute as we are here in Battle Creek, Michigan, I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, and I was told that Cabrini Green was one of the worst cities in the nation. Well, we used to hop trains and buses to get to Cabrini Greens, because that was the happening spot. And if you wasn't in the gang banging or into the drugs, you didn't have to worry about too much of anything. Now, naturally, those times have changed where drive-bys, back then, they shot who they meant to shoot. But right now, we're in a whole different world. But the bottom line is this. From a grassroots perspective, until we can get families their most basic needs for survival, we can't go any further than that. So first of all, we got to make sure the homes are stable. And then once the homes are stable, then we can move on to trying to deal with academics and social issues that goes on from there. But the most basic component that's going to be needed throughout this whole process is love. So I'm going to get into some more things further down the line, but right now I just want you to meet these individuals who are coming back home to make a difference. First, I have Dominique Williams here, who's a Cool People alumni, and just tell us a little bit about yourself, Damo. Anytime you're ready.
How well is it, folks? My name is Dominic Williams. I am currently a senior at Western Michigan University studying civil engineering. I have been in Cool People since the third grade, literally. Cool People raised me up from one of the, I guess, young knuckleheads at the school, coming to the after-school sports programs, all the way up through junior mentorship, and I actually became a senior mentor when I was in high school, and then continued to remain focused with the program after graduation as well. Cool People raised me. Cool People put me in a position to be able to have access to even the thoughts of going to college. When I was a kid, college wasn't even a consideration, anything to talk about. But Cool People was where I got those grassroots that Keith made mention of, that kind of put me on track to doing something that I love as opposed to something that I'm forced into.
Okay. Can you elaborate? You going into engineering, and we're gonna piggyback on that when we talk about some other things like the building we want to purchase and stuff. Your passion for engineering. Can you tell us a little bit about what made you go into engineering?
Before I ever wanted to do anything, I wanted to be an architect. That was always my thing. I enjoyed art when I was growing up. I enjoyed fixing stuff around the house. I mean,
tear it up.
Exactly. The money wasn't flowing like we hoped it would. So there was often times when we had to fix something and make it happen, just to be able to utilize those options. So being resourceful was definitely something that I was able to capitalize on. And it didn't help, or it didn't hurt, the fact that I was a gifted individual. I was blessed to be quite intelligent, and even though I might have not had the discipline that I needed, I had people around me that were able to kind of shape and mold that personality into somebody who could eventually become a professional and a leader in the community.
Yeah, and the reason that I wanted you to elaborate on that because you don't hear too many young brothers talking about being a civic engineer. And not only do you don't hear about it, even if there's something that they dreamed about, unless you rub elbows with an individual that's in that field, it becomes larger than life. But when you have someone that you're rubbing elbows with, that you know personally, it doesn't take long to say, I can be like Mr. Damo. He's with me every day. He told me that the stuff that I have right now is gearing me where I can actually do this.
Absolutely.
So again, those type of things I think we need to get into, and like I said, from a grassroots perspective, start getting young people enhanced in different fields where it's not just something that they want to do because they can draw or whatever, and people saying, oh, you'll be a great engineer. They need to see an engineer, especially a black engineer, and not only that, have a personal relationship with him. And moving on, Mr. Brandon Williams was his older brother. Brandon's been with us before. You've seen him when he was going off to Western Michigan. And we actually did an interview from your dorm, remember?
Yeah.
We did an interview from his dorm, and he talked about some things that were pretty awesome. One of them, how he hated community service, but he had to get, he got with the program. He got with the program. But Mr. Williams was on the honor roll, and he was challenged in reading. And we noticed it at the 5th grade, even though he was on the honor roll. And we challenged Mr. Williams in that area, and to say that he strengthened would be, kind of putting it lightly. I mean, he dove into it because he knew that this was the one asset that may hold him back. So again, when you have individuals around you who care about you enough, when you can tell them tough things like that, because he thought he was all that in the bowl of chip. But when you can tell them things like that and they can still take it to heart, knowing that I love them and the people around them love them, and that this is something I need to do, again, that's grassroots. And again, that's what we're bringing up to you today. This is what this whole committee here is about. It's grassroots. Grassroots is the only way that we're going to be able to fix these barriers and tear them down and rebuild our own communities and fix our own problems. So in saying that, Mr. Brandon is coming back and he's going to have two titles, that are program director and of athletic director. I'm going to let him get into his athletic director history and where that came from, and then we'll talk a little bit about him becoming program director and go from there.
I'm Brandon Williams, Cool People mentor. Been a mentor in Battle Creek and in Kalamazoo probably last 20-some years. Coming back home because again it was brought to my attention that one of the major downfalls in our community now is athletics, and I graduated from Western, started a sports management program in 2008. I should be finishing up now because I took hiatus being a father, taking care of my family, and also one of the reasons why I got to come home now.
Yeah.
Bigger than anything is just understanding that in life everything is about growth, and you have to grow. As like Coach explained, where I didn't understand that it was so much more that I needed to learn about life before I could be successful. It was humbling to know that I wasn't one of the greatest academic scholars, and sitting next to one right here where I don't know how it skipped a generation, but I wanted to be the accountant and the architect, and he ended up being the architect, and I ended up being the coach and the philosopher, scholar, I don't know what you would call it. But in this facet, wearing these hats now, I want to be able to bring something to Battle Creek that saved me and my brothers and a lot of people in our community. I remember it was many afternoons that we had hours and hours of recreation at Roosevelt Elementary because, again, we didn't have much to do at home, and our parents wasn't letting us come home to just sit in the house. So we had to find something, which the term latchkey kid is chiming from. And me and my brothers were just that. We were looking for something to do to keep us out of trouble. Cool People definitely gave us that rest haven. It showed us structure, direction, much like I'm pretty sure we've shown through the city is basically what we are about. Now we see that bigger than anything, we need to be here. We need to be a strong pillar in this community. We are the roots that help build Battle Creek. I was laughing with one of my brothers, and we was just talking about some of our mentoring hours, and I was laughing, and I was like, do you remember when we had basically helped Mark Showers win the Battle Creek election because we was like his one and only driving force when it came to, door to door, dropping off his, and I think he won that. Yeah, he ended up winning that election. And like I said, I don't know if, I guess you could say Cool People helped him win, but we were some of his driving forces being his street team and distributing his literature and knowing that people in the community knew that we supported him and also that he supported our issues. But like I said, when I started, I'm here about growth. I'm looking forward to taking on this position and helping my brothers and coach build something that we always talked about, but we never really truly had the resources or the knowledge to do it. But we all went off in our own life and seen life, experienced life, and was able to grow and become men and also become successful men in professional realms. Mm-hmm. So now that we are able to come back collectively and I guess form, Voltron, and which is Cool People. And that's what we've always known, that this is our mission, is to come back home and link up and put all of our resources together and make it what we need.
And it's saying that, again, it is a dream come true in regards to is for a reason we would prefer for it not to be, but it is what it is, and we're going to come back to you, Brandon, in regards to some things that we're trying to put in place now in addressing some of the issues that was given as to the reason that we were in the top 25 for the worst place to raise a kid here in Battle Creek. What we have to understand is that anytime you live somewhere, like I say, it's not as bad as everybody else feels it is, but that's because you become numb to the pain and you don't understand. But using athletic and events field trip, especially with Mr. Evans, getting them outside the realm, we need to be able to get them outside of Battle Creek so they'll see what they live in here is not normal. And in saying that, I want to turn it over to Mr. Evans here and talking about which is a vital component to what we're trying to do at the grassroots level, because the people that he's met, the celebrities that he's known, his experience in putting on plays, his ability to get speaking engagements and individuals who these young people really want to see and talk to, and to see that they're talking to them at a grassroots level, because I always wonder, well, how do you get these people? And bottom line, not only from Mr. Evans, but from my son, Jonathan Matthews, as well, it's like, people from all walks of life with money ask us all the time to do stuff like this. But it's very, very seldom that they have a grassroots organization come to them where they can come and be themselves and let their hair down and talk the way they want to talk. about keeping it 100 and keeping it real, you know. So I want Mr. Evans to talk a little bit about the component, the academic component, and what he's put together, which is encompassing also of the cultural arts.
With the cultural arts piece of the program, pretty much the focus is to pretty much put it like this: when these kids they come to this after-school program, after school, we want to make sure that homework is done. We want to make sure that we're talking to them about what's going on at home. Then we want to get into life coaching. After we get into life coaching, you know, we talk about things that they will face day to day in the community, at school, at home, and try to you know, help them with our expertise and not being too far removed, you know what I'm saying, from where they are, and trying to help them navigate to get to where we are. So then when you go from the academics and then you got the life coaching skills, we want to bring in the arts and cultural component because you know, outside of athletics, there was never really too much in Battle Creek for the kids to, you know, be involved in. So like with me, you know, cool people, as you know, as Brandon and Damo would say, like it kind of saved us from just sitting around not doing anything. So if cool people didn't exist, you can go get on the basketball team or the football team. But if, you know what I'm saying? So we trying to make it so you got the athletics, you got the academics, the life coaching, and now we introducing you into other opportunities and networking opportunities. And not only, you know, would you learn how to get into these fields, you know, we develop your skills and build up your confidence and bring in people. Like for example, at Western, he just got approved to bring a big time comedian Lil Rel. And so he was in the Carmichael show. Yep, he was in Carmichael show, the movie Get Out, and he's from Chicago, and so he's only 2 hours away from here. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like we in Battle Creek, and we want to bring these people, like we don't want it to feel like 30 minutes up the road at Western. You got all this stuff going on, but there's nothing like this going on in my community. So not only do we want to be with these kids every day, Monday through Friday, we want to throw these special events to bring workshops, speaking engagements, recreational events like, you know, comedy shows, plays. We want these kids just so active in the arts, the athletics, academics, and learning how to grow to avoid some of the mistakes that, you know, we made or their peers may make.
Yeah. So to continue on, we have these facets that they've been elaborating on, but we also have an agricultural component. My oldest son, known as KT, his name is Keith Matthews, is mine, but we call him KC. He's purchased a block in the Washington Heights neighborhood, right in the middle of Washington Heights neighborhood, from Kendall and Parkway to Oneida, and they have a community garden there, and he's growing greens and vegetables and cucumbers and you name it, he's growing it. And in doing that, that brings in again another facet of what is now being looked at as cultural equity. That's the big thing going now, especially with funding sources, which is a blessing because cultural equity has been needed for years. And if you don't know what cultural equity is giving anyone and everyone, bias, your religious belief, your sexuality, you know, whatever, giving you the same opportunities as anyone else to succeed and grow with your intellect and with your whatever degree or endeavor you have to be successful, and not let those things hold you back. And then we have to look at another reality that everyone is not going to go to college. So we look at athletics. Athletics, as the survey showed, is absolutely necessary, and without it, you get the statistics that we have. But in saying that, we spend, when I say we, I'm talking about those that can do funding, spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on athletics. And if you look at a young man from the age of 4, in the 4th grade, and he starts playing little rocket football, and then he goes off from there and plays, sixth grade basketball, which we were the first one to have, and we should have won that 3-on-3 up there. Y'all hit some free throws, But anyway, he's playing these sports, and now he's playing football. Then he goes right into basketball, and he's practicing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, playing the game on Friday. Then he goes into junior high school, or she goes into junior high school, and they're practicing football, basketball, tennis, whatever. Again, putting 3 and 4 or 5 hours a day, and trying to study into these sports. And then you get to high school, and the big thing for young men in high school is to be a 3-letter man. So now you're talking football, basketball, baseball, or track to get your 4 letters. And at the end of your senior year, you've accumulated hundreds and hundreds, not 1,000 hours into sports and athletics. And unless you get a scholarship for one of those athletics, you spent hundreds and hundreds of hours of your life, 1,000 hours of your life,
On a hobby.
with no return whatsoever. None.
Just a hobby.
So if we can start getting them to events like shadowing Damo with his connects to get into engineering firms where they can come and volunteer 2 hours just to come in and sort papers, stuff envelopes, just to be in the environment of civic engineering. And they do that 1-2 hours a week, 3 times a week, 3 times a month. And they start that at the 5th and 6th grade. Well, it doesn't take long for them to know that Mr. Anderson and Mr. Henderson, they're just regular people, and they've been encouraging me, saying, hey, you have everything it takes to do this. And then you look at Brandon and you say, okay, we need strong mind, healthy bodies, but he's of the tilt that he knows to teach you, you're going to learn more from your losses than your wins. We had a saying when we played any sport: you win with class, you lose with pride. You win with class by you winning, and you go shake the other opponent's hand and tell them great game. And if you lose, our pet peeve is we're gonna go eat up some stuff whether we win or lose. So it wasn't no big deal. We lost, oh well, let's hurry up and shake hands so we can get on the bus and go eat up some stuff. So again, it's about building life skills, life coaching, those type of things in that nature. And with Mr. Evans, same thing. He's going to be putting on speaking engagement. He's going to be doing plays. And these plays are going to be high schoolers, junior high schoolers, and some college students from KCC from right here in Battle Creek that we're going to be using to put these plays on. But not only are we putting these plays on because people see, or mostly only see the actresses on stage. But when we get these young people involved, again, 2 and 3 hours a week, every other week, or once a week, they putting in hour after hour to find out, you know what, I'm not an actor this time. They have me over here in lighting. I never knew all this took place in lighting. But I did lighting and I did the acting, but this time I'm doing choreography. I didn't know how to make a car look like it's riding down the street and it's still on a stage. And I didn't know what entailed in that. I didn't know about wardrobe. I just thought somebody picked something, they put it on. But now I understand that no, there's meetings and there's sessions that take place to make sure that we pick the right road. But this soundtrack, you just don't throw a song together. There's a reason why we're picking these songs. But in a nutshell, if they're doing all these type of things, hour after hour, week after week, doing all these things, when they graduate high school, even if they don't go to college, they have tangible life skills in their hands. They can go to an employer in the arts, in agriculture, in athletics, engineering, and just from their interview, if they're talking the lingo and the language of that field, this employer knows I don't have to reinvent the wheel with this guy. I can hire this guy and he's gonna hit the ground running. And you know what? I'm gonna invest money into him getting his degree while he's working here. So again, from a grassroots perspective, this is how we have to start. We can put on programs, we can buy big buildings, we can put programs in those buildings. If we're not getting in the homes, if we're not making sure that those homes are stable, that they have the most basic needs for their survival, if we're not making sure that they know that they're safe, that no matter what happens, I can call Mr. Damo, I can call Mr. Brandon, I can call Brother Evan, I can call Mr. Matthew, I can call somebody, because we have a zero excuse tolerance. You have a choice in everything you do, and you have 5 telephone numbers that you can pick up at any time. So if you make a bad choice, you're gonna suffer some consequences. It don't mean we don't love you, and Brandon can tell you that better than anybody. Because till this day, it's been 30 years, and I still hadn't had another Brandon. Brandon, what made me able to deal with anybody, and look where he is today. And the most proud part of that for me is that, as much as I stayed on Brandon, he was the football coach, basketball coach. That stuff took discipline from Brandon. And I'm like, I couldn't get my chest through the door. I was at one of the football games, and I was listening to him, and one of his players was kind of miffed about a play that didn't go right, and he said, time out. He brought everybody over. He said, trust the system. Just trust the system. Believe in me and trust the system. I was like, it wasn't in vain. He was really listening. He didn't act like he was listening, but he was listening. And that's how it is. You have to spend time with these individuals. Each of these individuals, we spend time at the schools together. We spend time after schools together. But all these individuals have lived in my home, have stayed in my home. All these individuals, they can tell you of different activities we went to outside of Battle Creek. One of the best things we had going on every year that they look forward to was exploration days. If nothing ever happened, MSU 4-H exploration days, everybody was going to be on. They wasn't going to get in trouble. They wasn't going to do nothing that was going to mess up getting the Michigan State exploration days.
I tried.
You know,
I tried.
Yeah, but again, you know, and kids are going to be kids, you know, and you have to let them be kids. But the reality, too, with each of these individuals here, the bottom line is that young people are not going to trust you, especially today's young people, until they let you down 2 or 3 times and you don't go away. Have a nice day. And remember, you can reach us on Facebook, Cool People Battle Creek. Good night.
Just you and me. Can't do it alone. I need some help, y'all. Can't do it alone. Yeah. Wake up, everybody. Wake up, everybody. Get up.
AccessVision, your voice, your community.